Okay, very, very quickly. I have to go and pray, so I just want to like quickly pen this down. It's just something the Holy Spirit told me. So there's this question in my head about like there's a, there's a lot of people in school right now, and they are studying like computer science, and because of this whole AI thing, it's kind of like if anything to go. But if you look at like all the news you get from like Twitter, from the web, essentially, it's very discouraging. Do you understand? For especially just like the future of programming, essentially. So then I kind of like asked the Holy Spirit that does this thing even have like any future of any sort? And then he explained. So this is what he told me. I just wanted to put it down so that I don't forget. Right? Okay, cool. So he talked about the. I'm kind of rushing because I have to go and pray. Right? So he told me about something called the pyramid. So there's something called the pyramid of like software, right? Just like in primary school, right? They taught us. I remember, was it primary or secondary school? It was secondary school. They taught me, right? Because I did into science in school, right? So they taught me something called the pyramid of energy, yeah? So they also made reference to that, you know, in the same vein, there's something called the pyramid of of software, right? And at the bottom of that pyramid is the consumers, right? So like the people that like just like they have like an iPhone, they go on the App Store and they download apps, which of course includes me myself, right? And they use it on their phone, right? So for instance, the app that I'm using right now to make this recording, I did not make it. So I'm also at the bottom of that pyramid as a consumer, right? Okay, cool. So at the bottom of that pyramid, you have, which is very, very large. This is like the largest pool, right? Of the pyramid, right? The base of the pyramid, you know, it's very large, and it's the consumers that are there. And then immediately above the consumers, you have the elite consumers. Now, the elite consumers are the people that are very, very good. They have like a knack for technology, and they're very, very good at like they have like this natural talent, this natural gift for understanding apps, you know, and software generally. So these are like people that like, you know, if something happens to your these are people that make videos on YouTube, for instance, on how to like use your Notion, how to use Notion better, or how to like you know, people that know about that setting inside like the settings app in iOS that can like make your device like for instance, yeah, there was when I was in about this time last year, I was in okay, not this time last year, but it was still a few months out. But I was in Tirana, right? And I stayed in a hostel, right? So when I was in that hostel, in the afternoon, I came back from the park and I sat down. There's like a lobby in the hostel, right? So I sat down, and then these two girls, they were actually two guys and two girls, right? But the guys kind of like went inside. They went downstairs, and then the girls they came to sit in the lobby, right? So we started chatting, right? And then we spoke. Then we started talking, and then I talked to them about how I had like this, how my screen time was very up, how I'd been like staring at Instagram for like forever, and okay, so before we got into that, right, we were talking, right? So I asked about their handles, right? Because I knew their boyfriends were around and were going to leave, and I didn't know if I was going to see them again. And we have like a really good conversation, right? So we started talking about like Instagram handles, the whole nine. So I asked them about their Instagram handles, and they were like, they do have Instagram, but like they don't like, it's dormant, right? And I was like, how is it possible that you have Instagram and it's dormant? And then I opened up to them about how like I have this thing where I'm just always doom scrolling. I'm always like looking at my screen. I'm always like looking at like, I'm just like, it's something I do incessantly, right? It's not as if I've been gaining anything for, you know, it's just something I do incessantly, right? So I complained to them about it, and they were like, that, you know, that those apps are like the Instagrams of this world, the Twitters of this world, X, right? Like the apps on your phone, essentially, that they are designed to always like grab your attention, right? That they are designed to pop. Like there's a lot of psychology going on behind the scenes, right? That if I wanted to stop it, right? That so they offered me advice on how to like drop my screen time, and which one of the girls said is how she dropped her own screen time, right? So she said that in the settings of my iPhone, right, that there's actually a setting that can turn off the colors of your iPhone. That can turn the colors off. And to make your iPhone grayscale. And I was like, that's a lie. That's impossible. And she was like, I should do it. That if I do it, I'll find out that all those apps will just become very unappealing to me. I was like, huh. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. So she talked to me. She kind of like walked me through where the settings was, right? And then actually went to the settings, and lo and behold, it was actually there. It was actually grayscale. And I graded it out. And throughout like the period in that place, I think it was like a whole 3 weeks or something. I really did not use like Instagram that much. That period, it just didn't appeal to me. I didn't use Twitter. I didn't use all these social media apps. I was just like, I turned it off. It was when I was now traveling, because I left the place, like I left Tirana like 3 weeks after or something like that. And that's when, and I had to like go to the airport and yada yada yada. That's when I had to like turn on like the color back. And nearly I turned it on back. Well, surprise, I was hooked again, right? So, the point I'm trying to make is that those girls that like walked me through, like, no, they knew that like the iPhone had like a grayscale setting, right? I did not know, bro. I've been using iPhone since, I don't know, bro. I've been using iPhone since like 20. I can't remember, but it was like maybe 2015 or something like that. 2014, 2015. Yeah, long time. And I never knew that they had like a grayscale feature. And even if let's say I subconsciously knew, I didn't know that if you turn it off, right, it will affect it will help my screen time drop like that. I did not know, right? So those girls, right, they are elite consumers, right? They are way above like average consumers like me, right? So on top of they sit on top of the pyramid, right? Okay, cool. Those are elite consumers, right? Now on top of the elite consumers are the programmers, the people that actually make the software that the elite consumers are experts in, and the average consumers just like download from the app store, and they might or might not even know how to use the app, right? So the programmers are there, which also includes me, right? So the programmers are there, right? So they are like, and there are lots of languages. There's JavaScript, there's Python, there's C++, there's Swift, which is the one I use. There's Kotlin, there's Java, which I used to write, and so there's all these programming languages that enable software developers to like make apps, right? Yeah. Okay. So the pyramid has 3 steps now. At the bottom of the pyramid, you have the consumers, followed by the elite consumers, followed by the programmers, right? Okay, cool. And then on top of the programmers, right, before it used to be the languages, like I just mentioned. On top of the program, essentially, is the languages, which are the C++. No, there's no. I don't want to like. So those steps have like mini steps. So let's not dive into mini steps. Let's just go up. So on top of the programmers here are the APIs. Essentially, they allow APIs like application programming interface that allows the programmers to make the apps, right? They allow programmers to actually make those apps, right? So for instance, if I wanted to make a weather app as a programmer, I've made a couple of weather apps, right? There's something called Open Weather, right? Open Weather is like an API. They have an API that fetches weather data, because I'm a programmer. I know how to make an app, but I cannot get meteorological data for tomorrow's weather. That's beyond my pay grade, right? So there are these services that are scattered that everywhere on the internet that enable programmers, right, enable programmers to make the apps essentially. So back in the day it was like APIs, but since the advent of AI, everything has now been consolidated into like models, right? So above the programmers, right, you have the model companies, which are the Anthropics of this world, the OpenAIs of this world, the Mistrals of this world, the DeepSeeks of this world, like the models, right? Because most apps that you use today are just like ChatGPT wrappers, or they are Claude wrappers, or they are built with those like models essentially, those AI models essentially. So again, let's run to the pyramid. So the pyramid has 4 steps now. So first step, consumers. On top of them, super consumers, which is the elite consumers. On top of them, programmers. On top of them, the models, right? The model makers, right? Now, on top of the model makers, which are now on top of the pyramid again, on top of the model makers are now like the big boys, right? The guys that create the operating systems, the guys that create the operating system that these models run on, right? So these are like the the apples of the world with iOS, because like ChatGPT is running on iOS, right? Without iOS, well, unfortunately, the model will not run. These are the Googles of this world with Android. ChatGPT, Claude, all these things, they run on all those operating systems. So on top of that pyramid are those guys, those like the big boys, the Apples of the world, the Microsofts of the world, the Googles of the world. Linux is there too, ish. Right? Okay, cool. So that's essentially the pyramid of programming, right? On top of that, there will have been the hardware guys like the Samsungs, but the people that the big boys are so big that they are also like they also double as the hardware guys, right? So it's like the pyramid of like energy, for instance, like in like water, for instance, right? You have like birds that feed on insects, that feed on like small that feed on grass, right? And then you have like birds that feed on insects. And then you have rats that feed on those, or birds that feed on those insects. And then you have like snakes that feed on those on those like birds. And then you have like hawks that feed on the snakes, and the hawk is on top of the pyramid, essentially, something like that, right? Okay, cool. I mixed that up a little bit, but let's just continue. Right. Okay, cool. So let's run to the pyramid again. Bottom of the pyramid, software consumers. On top of that, then it's almost time for my prayer. Oh, it's past. It's 4:02 already. I have to go. Let me just quickly finish this. Again, bottom of the pyramid, software consumers. On top of them, super consumers. On top of them, the programmers. On top of them, the model creators. On top of them, the operating system guys, right? Okay, cool. So now the general take now around the internet, like, is everybody saying that, even me, what I used to believe was that all this, now the AI happened, essentially. AI happened and came from nowhere. So the general take now is that AI is going to replace the programmers, right? And then the programmers are not going to have a job anymore. If you're in computer science school, drop out of your computer science school, because you are not going to have a job anymore, which is false, essentially, right? So if that is false, then what is true? Well, this is what the Holy Spirit told me, right? So what is going to happen is, because of the advent of AI, right? AI is just going to like bump everybody up the pyramid. So the pyramid is going to get one extra layer on top, right? So it's going to bump everybody up the pyramid. So you're essentially going to get promoted one step, right? So the consumers are going to be, because of AI, right? They are going to be bumped up the pyramid. So they're going to become elite consumers, right? Now the elite consumers are going to be, so for instance, right? Let's say there's a girl called Amy, right? Or Elara. Let's just use ChatGPT likes using Elara in stories. So let's just say Elara. There's a girl called Elara, right? She has an iPhone. She's very into Hello Kitty. She likes Hello Kitty, right? Okay, she loves Hello Kitty, right? So she opens in the future, right? And when I say future, I mean like 2 years from now. She opens iOS 28. If Apple is actually changing the naming scheme, she opens iOS 28 and she opens the calculator app. And it's just like the standard look of the calculator app on the iPhone. But like I said, she likes Hello Kitty. So she's like, I want all the buttons to be Hello Kitty-ish, right? Right? So because of AI, right? And because AI can actually write full apps, right? I'm guessing by that time AI will be able to like one shot like literally any app, right? Okay, cool. Right? So she'll be able to say, oh look, without any being an elite consumer, right? She'll just be able to tell the calculator app itself that, hey, look, I want all these buttons to be Hello Kitty. Finish. I want like it to be pinkish, and I want all the buttons to be Hello Kitty. And calculator will be like, okay, and it will automatically change it to Hello Kitty for her and say, hey, do you like this one? And she'll be like, tweak this. And she'll be like, okay, I want the equal sign to be like a pony, right? I want it to be a pony or a unicorn. And then it will tweak it. And then a calculator app will be unique to only her. Yeah, and she can share that thing with her friend, right? Finish. And there'll be a share button, like share this with your friend. And then she'll share with her friend. So our friend Sally in school would also have. So the two of them will like be besties, and they'll be tuning with calculator apps that have like that look different. Now, before and she didn't. Well, she was not even an elite program. An elite consumer. She was just a regular consumer. Now, the elite consumers, right, will be able to like make full-fledged apps from scratch, because now, which is kind of already happening. Most of the elite consumers are the people that you are seeing that are on Twitter, that are like, that they are really into this vibe coding thing, right? Because they've always wanted to make software, and they're actually very good at because they see the pitfalls. They're very good at using software. They have a knack for technology, but programming has always been like this, like Red Sea standing between them and their promised land, right? Now, with the advent of AI, right, most of these elite consumers, right, most of them that are like maybe finance bros, or they work at like maybe it's just like, maybe it's a plumber, but he has like a knack for technology, right? And everybody has told him all his life that, oh, because you don't know math, because you're not good at this, you'll never become a programmer, right? With vibe coding now, those guys are actually the ones that are actually making apps now with vibe coding. It's not the average consumer. My mom is not making apps, even though she knows that AI can make any app. She's probably not going to do that. My sisters, maybe not. They don't care that much. The average user will never care about making apps by themselves. Do you understand? It's not just their thing, right? It's not just going to be their thing. The people that are going to be vibe coding are people that have always had a knack for technology, but programming has stood in their way. You understand? So the elite consumers are going to, so again, the pyramid, let's look at the pyramid again. So again, the guys at the bottom of the pyramid, the consumers like myself, they'll become elite consumers. They'll be able to tweak the software to work for them, to be in the way they want it to be, to work the way they want it to be, right? Without writing any code, right? Now, the elite consumers, which are the guys that were able to actually, that had the knowledge to tweak software before. They had so much knowledge of software, they knew how to tweak it to kind of work for them-ish, right? Those guys are now going to be the guys that are able to make apps, courtesy of vibe coding. Now, so what happens to the programmers, right? Well, again, like I said, they get bumped up. They get bumped up one step, right? So most programmers will discover that. So pause, right? Egypt. Let's go to Egypt, right? Okay, cool. So in ancient Egypt, right, there was this king called Akhenaten, right? So in ancient Egypt, yeah, they had like all these gods. They had like, ancient Egypt was like this very monotheistic society. It was this very polytheistic society. Polytheistic from the word polytheism. And they had like all these like gods, right? They had all these gods. They had Amun, they had Isis, Osiris. Like they had all these, Jesus. They had like 1,001 gods, right? One for fertility, one for farming. They just had a lot of gods, right? So there was this guy, his name was Akhenaten, and he was married to this very famous woman called Nefertiti, right? And they just woke up one morning. I was like, the fuck, like, let's like, I'm sorry for cursing, by the way. So I was like, they were like, let's streamline this thing, right? Let's make everything into one, right? One God. Forget all these gods. Let's make only one God. Let's make Egypt a monotheistic society. And exactly what they did. They said all those gods are cancelled. There's only one God, and his name is Ra. And so they started worshipping Ra. And that kind of like caused like a whole lot of problems. And, the guy died. Eventually, they killed him, essentially. They killed him. The guy died, essentially. And then, they erased every trace of him from history. They tried to erase every trace of him from history. I'm still talking about him, which means they were not very successful. But they tried to, right? Because he tried to, like, streamline the process, right? Because they just discovered that idea of monotheism didn't work for Egypt, right? So it's the same thing for, like, software right now, right? Right now, right, we're in terms of, like, AI, right? We're practicing monotheism in some way or some sort, right? Because there are all these giant models like ChatGPT 4.0, right? There's like Claude 4.0 pools. There's like DeepSeek R1. These big giant models, right? They're like deities, right? And everybody, if you want to use AI, you're either referring to, when you refer to AI loosely, right? You're loosely inferring one of those four models, one of those top four models, right? Right. Okay, cool. Yeah. And then there's, on the other hand of the spectrum, there's not Apple. Apple is now like the guy that is doing the reverse of what Akhenaten did. And Apple is like, you know what? We don't think the future is like all these like big giant models. We think that are online. We think the future is like this small, tiny models, right? That run on device, right? Which I think they're actually right. I think that's what the future is going to be, right? So that's what essentially what is going to happen to programmers. the average programmer in the next 3 years, next 4 years, will not be making apps. They'll be making models, like literal operating systems, bro. Models that, like, so people will have specialized phones. Do you understand? Your phone will not just be a general purpose phone, right? The phone will be like specialized. Do you understand? So if you use your phone mostly to listen to music, right? The whole operating system will be music heavy. It's not like a phone that is like streamlined. No. It's fucking music heavy. The whole operating system, right? And it's a programmer and it's running on a model, right? A model that was trained to be very good with music. Do you understand? So and that's how apps will be essentially. Apps will be like operating systems. There'll still be like a mothership, like iOS, for instance, right? But iOS would be like a container where these smaller operating systems can run. There'll be more than apps essentially. There'll be like full systems, right? Okay, cool. So that's the role of so the average programmer will bump from just making apps to making OS level stuff, right? And training models, right? Okay, so what does the model people do? Well, you can already that is kind of happening, right? So for instance, right, you have OpenAI with their TTS, and then you have 11 Labs, right? 11 Labs has like all this, like, they have this software. You can say they are programmers essentially, but they have a model that they design, that this proprietary model that their software is running on, right? Now, a general purpose model like OpenAI, even though their real time, their voice TTS is extremely good and cheap, right? It doesn't compete with 11 Labs, right? Because 11 Labs is just sublime. It's very expensive, but it's sublime, right? Now, I use OpenAI because it's cheap, it's affordable, and I love it, right? But 11 Labs, their quality is just like, do you understand? Because they focus all their energy on it, right? Okay, cool. So that's like a classic example of a programmer making models, right? With 11 Labs, right? Okay, cool. A time will come where 11 Labs will be like, and they've fleshed out. So they have like models that make sound effects. They have models that generate music. They have 11 Labs with that app. Like they have all this, like this suite of like audio, right? This audio suite. So in the end, right, you could see in the next 4 or 5 years, 11 Labs could be dropping like an operating system, right? That is music focused, that is audio focused, right? And if you are like, and you would be able to like install that operating system on your phone, on your device, on your everything, and to be like its own little ecosystem. Okay, cool. So that's like what programmers are going to be doing in the next 3 or 4 years. So essentially, I don't think people need to drop out of school or anything. If anything, I think like more people are going to be, because software is about to eat the world essentially. People think it was eating the world before, but no, it's about to literally munch it, right? So I think more than ever, most people should be doing computer science, learning how to program. I think it's going to be like really, really useful. But again, we'll get to that. Okay, so what does like the model people do? What does Anthropic do? What does like OpenAI do? What does like DeepSeek do? Well, they're kind of like already doing it, right? Once again, Sam Altman has like this kind of like knack for the future. He can kind of like see the future-ish, right? Because, no, not ish actually. He can't because he was the one that like started this whole text chat thing, right? It's kind of like Steve Jobs-ish, right? Okay, cool. So like, okay. So what are they going to do? Well, once again, he spends like, I think 6 billion or something on Johnny Hive, right? On Johnny Hive's company, right? His hardware company, right? So most model companies are going to like move into the Apple roles, them, right? They're going to start making all this like proprietary hardware for their models, right? They're going to start making proprietary hardware for their models, which now that proprietary hardware will include robotics, would include like wearable devices, would also include IoT, right? Because IoT is also going to be big. In 2014, it was very, very big in 2014 because everybody was like IoT, and then it kind of died down, right? So IoT is going to be very big because of agents, right? So right now, right, for instance, right, the average YouTuber, because agents are going to be very big. I want to make like, God told me a whole stuff about all this agent stuff, right? So maybe I'm going to make like a difference. Okay, so I should just say it here. Okay, cool. So right now, this thing is going to be long, bro. It is going to be long. Okay, cool. Well, okay, let's just go. I'll try to like cut it short as much as I could. Okay, cool. So agents, right? So agents are like, okay, cool. So every civilization, right? Every civilization has a hive mind, right? Every dispensation has a hive mind, and they subconsciously, right? They always like they do this maybe consciously or subconsciously. I think some are very conscious, right, about it, and some are not very conscious about it. And that is this so in the Bible there's something called, they asked Jesus, like, Jesus, teach us how to pray. And Jesus was like, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Pause. Right? So every civilization subconsciously, they're always trying to like replicate heaven on earth. Right? They call it civilization, right? But that is what they try to do. They try to create heaven on earth. And they do it with, and various civilizations, they do it with varying degrees of success, right? So for instance, like, let's say like a typical civilization that actually tried to do, they were very blatant about it, would be China, right? The Chinese dynasties, right? They literally had something called the mandate of heaven, period. Like, they were literally trying to replicate heaven on earth. They were not hiding it. They were not being very iffy about it. It was literally heaven on fucking earth. They were trying to do that. And it was called the mandate of heaven, right? Okay, cool. Right? And they were trying to do it. And even modern Chinese architecture, right? You know, all those like roofs that you see, that we see, that are very popular, right? It was because like a king, right? He had a dream and he thought he saw heaven. And then he woke up and he told his people that, hey, look, I saw heaven. I saw these beautiful buildings in heaven. And I want you to draw those buildings for me. And the architects are like, we're sorry, king, if you explain what the buildings look like, we'll draw it for you. I was like, nope, I can't remember. You guys make the building for me. And they could not. So he was like, okay, so you people are useless. I'm just feeding you. I'm going to have all of you executed. So he was executing them one by one. And then there was this Chinese guy that was like, you know what? And he had accepted his fate, essentially. But he had a cricket, right? He had like a cricket. That he didn't have a wife, he didn't have children, but he had a cricket. And that cricket was like his pet, because the cricket kept him up at night and prevented him from sleeping so he could finish his project. So he was going to be executed the next morning, and he was like, you know what, what's the last project I can work on? He said, okay, you know what, I'm just going to work on like a building for my cricket, right? So he sat down and he drew a plan, which was going to be like a small miniature building for his cricket, so that when he's gone, the cricket will have like a place to stay with, kind of like food to just survive for a while before he's gone. Do you understand? And so when it was time for him to be executed, he came before the king, because that king would like, by the way, the same guy that moved the capital of China from Beiping to Beijing. The capital of China used to be Beiping, but now it's Beijing. It was that guy that shifted it. Very crazy guy. Okay, so he brought all. So when it was time for that architect to be executed, he brought him before him, and it was like, "Do you have like a solution to my? Do you have my drawing now?" And he was like, "I'm sorry, I don't have your drawing." He was like, "You don't have the drawing." He was like, "Okay, say okay, you are going to be executed." So the guy was like, "Okay." So he took his plan and then he handed it over to the executioner. I was like, "Please, make sure that they build this thing for me, right?" So while he was saying that, the king overheard him, and he was like, "What is he talking about?" And then the king was like, then the king asked the guard, "What is he talking about?" And the guard was like, "Oh, he has this plan that he wants to build for his like crickets when he dies." And the king was like, "That is weird. Let me see the plan." And then he took the plan and he opened the plan, and then lo and behold, it was like this building, and it had like this roof, like the Chinese roofs that we see now, like this unique Chinese architecture. That's where it came from. So he saw it and I was like, "Oh my God, this is what I saw in heaven." And the Enoch was like, and sorry, the architect was like, "Sorry?" He was like, "Yeah, this is what I saw in heaven." I was like, this is beauty that I saw in heaven. It was like, "Oh wow, okay." And then it was like, "Well, surprise, surprise, we're moving from Beiping to Beijing, and we're building these buildings." And that's how those Chinese architecture became, essentially. So they were trying to replicate heaven, right? But not only them, right? So for instance, in Egypt, right, there's a story in the Bible about this guy called Moses. This guy called Moses, and he ran away from Egypt, and one day he was like in the forest, and a bush was burning, and then realized it was God, and God was like, "You're going back to Pharaoh." And he was like, I don't want to go back to Egypt. They're going to kill me. And God was like, "Except you show me like a," and God was like, "Okay, I'll show you like a magic trick." So God was like, "Put your hand, take your rod and throw it on the floor." So he took his rod and threw it on the floor, and he became a snake. And God was like, hold the rod at the back of your hand, at the tail tip. And then he held it, and the rod became like a rod again. And it was like, "Oh my God, Becky, look at that ass." Okay, sorry. And he was like, and he was like, "Oh my God." And then he took the rod, right? And he was so happy. He was so convinced that this was like going to like Pharaoh was going to be blown away, and you know, and he was just going to stroll out of like Egypt with the Israelites once he showed the Pharaoh that magic trick. So when he got to Ramses, and the Pharaoh was like, "Hey, bro, I haven't seen you in a while. What brings you here this time?" I was like, wait a minute, I have to show you something. And then he threw his rod on the floor, and his rod became a snake. And then in his mind, he thought like maybe Ramses would be so amazed, or he would stand up and start applauding him, or maybe start quaking in his boot. And Ramses was like, and Pharaoh was like, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to clap for you? Am I supposed to start frying beans? Do you want me to make you spaghetti? Do you want what exactly do you expect me to do? What's the reaction you're expecting from me, right? And Moses was like baffled. Like, why is he not like elated by this? This is the height of alchemy. This is the height of, like, I literally turned a rod into a live snake. The snake is still alive. And then the Pharaoh was like, just call my scientists. And so he called his astrologers, his Chaldeans, which are like the scientists of those days. And they also had rods, and they saw the snake on the floor. And they were like, okay. Now, people always gloss over this part in the Bible, but this is like spectacular, bro. And they took their rods, right, and they threw it on the floor. And lo and behold, the rods also became snakes. And Moses could not believe his eyes. It was like, oh my God. He wanted to run out of the building, but it was too late at that time because there were guards, right? But because, the name of Jesus is above every other name, of things in heaven, of things on earth, and of things on the earth, right? What ended up happening is that the snake of Moses ended up eating all those other snakes up, right? But they were actually able to replicate heaven on earth. That was something only God could do in heaven, right? And they did it on earth, right? And if you look at the whole of Egypt here, it was all about the afterlife. It was essentially trying to replicate heaven on earth. They did it subconsciously and consciously too. So my point essentially is that literally every civilization on earth has tried to replicate this heaven on earth thing, and they failed. They almost use the word fail. They had like varying successes at it. We could just keep going through examples. The Babylonians, even down to Lamassu and like the Assyrian winged bull. All those things, they were just trying to copy like beings in heaven. Do you know? They were just trying to replicate heaven on earth. Everybody has been trying to do it. And they've had like a little bit of success with it, right? Now, the current dispensation we are in, which is Western civilization, right? Because of this AI thing, right? Yeah. I think they're going to be way more successful at replicating the heaven on earth. The whole heaven on earth scenario. Which is why AI is going to be like, everybody's predicting doom. No, it's not. It's going to be, Holy Spirit told me, it's going to be like extremely nice. Like, at least for a period of time, for like maybe a century or so, it's going to be extremely nice. All the diseases are going to go away. Everything is going to be cheap. Everybody's going to be balling essentially. Of course, there are going to be some like inconveniences, like how in the world right now there are some heavy tourist locations where the locals in those places, they have like tourist fatigue. They don't like to see tourism, right? Okay, cool. So there are going to be inconveniences like that where like people will have like robot fatigue, for instance. They'll be tired of seeing robots everywhere because robots, they don't sleep. They're always in your face. They're always working 24 hours, which means all the highways are going to be busy 24 hours. The robots are going to be everywhere on the streets, and people are going to be like, get these things out of my face. So we're going to have problems, but they are going to be those kind of problems. They won't be the kind of problems we have now where it's like, oh, I don't have money, or I'm sick, or I want to travel, but I'm stuck at my work. No. All those kind of problems will go away. The kind of problems we have are all these like minor inconvenience problems, essentially, right? Okay, cool. Because AI, right? AI is going to help us like replicate heaven on earth, which is what AI is actually good at doing. AI cannot create anything original, but AI is very good at copying. It can copy 0 to 1 verbatim for you. 0 to 0, copy it verbatim for you, right? So it's going to replicate at least what our own idea of heaven is. It's going to replicate it on earth, minus the happiness. So if you come on earth in the next 40, 50 years, it's going to look like heaven, minus the happiness. So suicide rates will still be high. Like people will still be unhappy. Drug use will still be there. But literally every other thing would be. Of course, not everybody will be unhappy. A lot of people will be happy, but eventually we'll find that essentially the only difference between heaven and earth in the next 40, 50 years because of AI will be happiness. Because in heaven everybody is happy, and on earth, in spite of all the technology, in spite of all the diseases are gone, death has been solved, aging has been solved. Well, surprise, everybody's rich now, nobody's suffering now. People will not everybody will be happy. Still, that will be the only difference. Okay, so what does this have to do with agents, right? Okay, cool. Agents, right? Now, because everything is now like heaven on earth, right? Which means earth is like a one-on-one copy of earth, right? Now, you cannot have heaven without angels, right? Right? So, agents, AI agents are like angels, right? And you can draw a couple of parallels with AI agents and angels, right? Now, one of the parallels you can draw is that, for instance, you can't see angels, right? You can't see angels. You won't be able to see agents too, right? You can't see agents, AI agents too. You can't see them. You can't see them, right? Agents are always working in the background for your sake, right? Okay, agents are always working in the background for your sake. Sometimes agents take like days, angels take like days, even months to like complete tasks for you, right? So for instance, in the book of Daniel, right, there's a story in Daniel chapter 9, right? There's a story about Daniel praying. He prayed and then he fasted and fasted and fasted and did not get any reply. And then eventually an angel came to meet him. And then the angel told him that, I'm very sorry. The day you started praying, that was the day that God dispatched your answer. But I was held back by the Prince of Persia, which is where that whole Prince of Persia thing comes from, right? I was held by the Prince of Persia, and the Prince of Persia held me back, and he delayed me for 21 days, right? So the task was pending for 21 days. Just like your average agent might take like 21 days, even a month to work on a task, right? Before it gets it done, right? So agents are like angels, one-on-one. AI is going to make us like heaven, like it's going to become like heaven on earth, right? Okay, cool. So furthermore, right, angels are actually not nameless, right? They always have names, right? So there are some angels in the Bible that have names, right? So agents too are going to get named. Now, every human being is assigned an angel, right? This whole concept of guardian angel. So, for instance, that angel that was talking to Daniel, right? He was talking to Daniel about how the current king, I think his name is Darius the Mede, right? It was like I was the angel that was assigned to him. I was the reason why people have been trying to kill him, but he has not died. Nobody has been able to kill him yet because, surprise, surprise, I was king. I was the one protecting him. He was telling Daniel, he was bragging about it, right? So that the concepts that everybody has like a guardian angel, and so many people too. People have tried to kill them and they didn't die because God has assigned an angel to them to protect them, right? Okay, cool. The concept of guardian angels. So in the same vein, we're going to have not guardian agents, but we're going to have agents, right? And those agents are going to be working in the background for you, essentially. Now, every angel has a name, right? So in the Bible, we have angels named angels like Gabriel, Michael, Uriel. So in the future too, agents will have names, right? Everybody will be assigned an agent and they will have names. Now, right now, I have like an handle. My handle is @Donny the Beloved, right? On Twitter and on X, right? Okay, cool. Agents too, in the future, that handle will not be for Instagram and X. It will be for my agents. It will be my agents that will have that handle, right? And in the future, so right now, right, this recording that I'm recording, right, I had to like open my app, open my phone, turn on my phone, press record, and I start recording it. I initiated the process by myself. But in the future, right, this is why I say IoT is going to be big, right? This house that I'm in, this Airbnb I'm going to be, is going to have a lot of IoT, Internet of Things devices. So the fan it's still going to be a fan, but it's going to be very aware, right? It's going to have Wi-Fi. Everything's going to have Wi-Fi, and my agents I'll connect my phone to the Wi-Fi, and then because of everything has Wi-Fi, my agents will be able to connect to everything in the house, right? So in the future, right, I just have to start talking. I don't have to open my iOS app and press record. No, I just have to start talking, and then my agents will be like, what is Donny saying? He has been talking for like 10 minutes. Oh, I think he's trying to write down something God told him, and then it will just start automatically recording it for me. I don't have to go and stand up and go and be pressing phone. No. It just takes that into queue, just like an agent, because the Bible says, it said, don't say before an angel it was a mistake, lest the Lord gets angry and destroys the work of your hand. Which means the angels are always listening, just like Siri, right? So in the future too, the agents are always going to be listening, right? So in the same way, they're always going to be filming. So in the future, right, let's say I wanted to right now, the average vlogger, I watch a lot of vlogs on YouTube, and the average vlogger, right, they literally have to manually carry a camera up and down and film everything that they are doing, which it takes the magic out of it, kind of like, it makes it less organic, right? Because at the end of the day, every human being is like a celebrity of some sort, right? But the problem is, most of our magic moments, right, there's nobody to film it, right? Sometimes we're not even conscious of those magic moments. Every day, every human being has like all these funny things that they do but there's nobody to film it. There's nobody to see it, right? So those moments just pass. The only people that see it are the angels, right? And they record those things. They have a good laugh. And they do laugh because Paul said angels were laughing at him. So angels do laugh. And they show God, and God will laugh about it because the Bible says the Lord laughs in heaven, right? Okay, cool. So God too will laugh about it. And then the day you die, right? There's this thing where they say that when you die, the first 5 minutes after you die, your brain is very active, yada, yada, yada. Maybe it's like replaying your memories back for you, which I can kind of like attest to because when my dad passed away, I don't want to talk about it. Okay, when my dad passed away, right, my sister was like very, very, all of us were very distraught. My mom was like almost going to psychosis. My brother-in-law was there. So it was one that kind of like was like the man at that moment because I don't even know what that was. Maybe I was a vegetable or something. So I can't remember. My memories of it are very faint. But it took my mom, it took everybody, minus me. It wanted to throw me in the car too, but I was like, man, I'm not leaving. Right? I wanted to stay with my dad's body, right? So my mom was like, she had lost her senses or something. So they packed all of them inside his car. He forced them inside the car, locked everything up, and then drove them away, right? So me, I was just inside the hospital, right? My dad's car was outside because I drove the car there, right? I drove him to that hospital. We came in an ambulance, right? And then I went home to like pick the car because he said he wanted to eat rice. So me and my sister went to get rice for him, and then I parked the car outside. So when everybody was gone, his body was lying inside the hospital, just by himself, right? I mean, I just couldn't wrap my head what was happening. So I went inside the car. I sat down. I was just perambulating around that hospital. My brain, I just didn't even know. I didn't know maybe to cry. I didn't know. I wanted to run away. I didn't know. My emotions were, I never felt anything like that. Like I was experiencing like 10 different emotions at the same time and 10 different actions. So I was like doing those actions. So I'll start running and they'll be like, oh fuck, I'm not supposed to be running. I'm supposed to stay. It was this wave of stuff, right? So this was like kind of like the first time I started hearing the voice of the Holy Spirit, right? And then I had like a voice that was like, I should go back inside. I was like, I should go where? So I should go back inside. I should go and look at my dad. So I thought maybe he was like awake again because when he died, right? After 5 minutes, immediately he stopped breathing, right? I went to call the doctor. I first called one doctor, right? One doctor, I think it was a nurse or something, but it was very heartless, right? It was very, very heartless about the whole thing, right? So I saw it was just like, there's nothing we can do. My dad was gasping for breath. I was like, there's nothing we can do. So I was like, fuck this guy. So I ran outside and I went to look for another doctor, right? And then I found out that doctor. I don't remember his name, but wherever he is, God will bless him. It was out that doctor that came back. But by the time me and him, we came back here, my dad had already stopped breathing. He was just stiff at that time. So that doctor just kept but he just pushed out that doctor to the side. He was like, get the fuck out of here. And then he just started pumping my dad. He started pumping my dad's heart. He was like pumping my dad's heart continuously, back to back for like 5 minutes, right? By that time, my mom was at the window. My mom was shouting. And then my mom shouted my dad's name, right? She said like, Tunji. Now my mom doesn't call my dad Tunji. She always calls him like TS, right? So I don't know. Maybe my dad was surprised that maybe in the afterlife he heard that my mom called him like his real name, right? But my mom said Tunji, right? Which is my dad's real name, right? And that doctor was like pumping my dad's heart. And then my dad woke up, right? He woke up just like 5 minutes after I had been still. He woke up, right? And then like everybody shouted, including my mom. I was like, hey, thank God he's back. We thought he was back, but nah. And then he looked at the doctor, he looked at me, and then he just closed his eyes. And then he never opened it. So when I had that voice that told me to go back into the hospital, right? I thought, okay, maybe he's alive again. So like I said, my brain was like executing. I was having like 10 emotions at the same time. I was executing all of them at fucking same time. So I started running. I was already running away at that time, I think. And then I was like, okay, let me just run back inside the hospital. So I ran back inside the hospital. And then when I opened the door, right, I saw my dad, right, but it was very different this time. It didn't look like my normal dad. It was like very, very, very beautiful. Like it was absolutely beautiful. I swear to God, I've never seen anything like that before. And this is me that was in a state of panic, but I could still recognize the aesthetics. It was super beautiful. Okay. I was like, wow, what is happening? What is this, right? I was like, the fuck is this, right? I was like, wow. I was so stunned by it. I just stood there for like 30 minutes. I was just looking at him. Like, this is like, it's not that it was handsome. It was beautiful. And my dad is like me normally, right? I'm not like very good looking ish, right? I look like my dad, except it's like, I don't look like my mom, like my dad. So I was like, God, this man is beautiful, right? And this is somebody that is dead. That's what was going through my head. So like around 4 a.m., right? My sister, I don't know how she came back. She just came back. I just saw her. And she was shouting. I started hearing, so I was still standing there. I was just frozen there in time. And then my sister I had somebody crying outside. I was like, oh, that's my sister, right? And then she was running She was trying to run into the hospital, inside the ward. So I went to meet her at the door. I was like, shh, that she should calm down. I was like, what is wrong with this one? She pushed me. I was like, I held her back. I was like, she should calm down. Then I was to show her something. And then she too, I think she thought that maybe my dad had come back. So she was like, is he awake again? I was like, oh, calm down. Let me come and show you something. So I brought her inside the room. I said she look at my dad. Because there was a cloth that was covering his head. So I removed the cloth and I showed it to her. She was like, it looks beautiful. I was like, exactly. It looks extremely beautiful. So that it looks beautiful thing kind of like calmed our minds down for like, because all the confusion I felt, right? Once I saw that, like, I never seen him so peaceful, so beautiful. So like, it was almost like, there was almost light coming out of his face. It was like very radiant. It was very beautiful. I showed my sister. She was like, wow. So we had like this momentary moment of calm till the morning, till they came to pick him. And then we had to drive to the mortuary. And then immediately they locked him up. They put him inside the hospital and told us to go away. All the like emotions came back and then we became distraught again. But my point essentially was that I was trying to make is that that maybe there's some truth to this idea that when you die, that your brain plays back the highlights of your life, essentially, the reels of your life for you, right? But essentially, so we don't see those moments, right? It's only God that has those like highlights of your life, all the nice moments of your life that nobody was there to film, that you did silly things, funny things, right? You at your finest, right? That if somebody was there to film it and had like sent it to his friend, yeah, maybe you'll have been like a celebrity. Maybe the person will have been like a celebrity because there was someone there to film it, right? Okay, but there was nobody there to film it. Now, because of agents, now in the future, because you have an agent, right, and there's IoT, right. Okay, cool. Every moment of your life, the highlights will be filmed according to your permission. So, for instance, if somebody went to like a restaurant to eat with his friends, right, all you have to do is just connect your Wi-Fi to the Wi-Fi of the restaurant. Before you connect the Wi-Fi, right, there'll be like, when you want to connect the Wi-Fi, there'll be like a pop-up, just like captive Wi-Fi now. When you're in an airport, they'll say like, oh, please wait 30 seconds while we're connecting to the internet, and they'll play you an ad. In the future, it won't be an ad. It will be like a terms of agreements that once as you are connecting to this Wi-Fi, your agent, your agent is also has the access to our camera, has the access to our speakers, has the access to our microphone, yada yada yada. Right? So all you have to do is just sit down with your friends and have a meal, and your agent will stitch everything together. You get to the bus stop, you're waiting for a bus, you connect to the public Wi-Fi. Once again, your agent is connected to the camera on the street camera, and is looking at you. All those places that you go to, you enter your Uber, you connect to the Uber Wi-Fi. Your agent is listening to all the songs that you are listening to, is watching your reaction, everything. When you get home, when you're about to sleep, you get a notification, and it's all the highlights of this, the funny moments of all the days, of everything you did today, and be like, hey, look at everything you did today. These are the things you did today that I thought was like noteworthy. Would you like me to post it to Instagram? I found this. I select the reels you want me to post to. These are the reels I want to post to Instagram for you. Should I post them? And then you're going to be like, let me see everything. And then it's going to show you. And you're going to be like, okay, delete this one, post this one, delete this one forever. I don't want to see it again in my life. I want you to to incinerate it. Like, delete this clip and then to delete it for you. And be like, okay, this one, post it on Instagram. There's a post it on Instagram for you, or you post it on X for you, or you post it on like your favorite social network for you. And then everybody will look at it and be like, she's such a funny person. Or you can just stitch everything together and post it, and it will post it to YouTube for you as a vlog, and people will watch it, right? And it's be nice. And the best part, you did not have to carry a camera around, right? You didn't even have to do that. It was just your agent working for you with, connecting to cameras, connecting to park cameras, connecting to like to all these IoT devices around you, and just like to all the places that you went, and it stitched all those like moments together for you, and created these beautiful highlights, right? Right. Now, in the same vein, because your agent, like, it learns from you, right? It learns from you, essentially. Over time, right? So the clips that you dismissed when you showed you that reel, right? The clips that you dismissed, right? So some people are going to be, just like today, in today's world, where there are some people that are very good at, like, there are some star YouTubers, right? And the reason why they are stars is because they know the kind of like, they just know what people like to see, essentially, and they show people those things, right? Okay, cool. So those in the same vein, the agents of the future, right? Your agents, right, will be able to learn from you. So let's say you are somebody that actually knows what people like to see, right? When you're selecting the reels that your agent should post on Instagram, right, your agents will start learning, So over time, right, you just discover that you and your agents are always agreeing. You just show it all the clips, and your agents will be like, oh yeah. You just shake your head and be like, yeah, these are the exact same clips I want you to post on Instagram. These are the exact captions I would have loved, and the agents will post it, right? And then it will get to a point where you become very famous, not because you are actually a vlogger, but because your agent has made you famous, right? And because you are famous, right, just like you have famous handles there are famous handles like Kylie Jenner, for instance. Very famous handle, right? Okay, cool. In the same vein, they are going to be famous, but as Kylie Jenner is not an agent, it's just a person, right? In the future, that art will be an agent, a real agent, right? Okay, cool. So in the future, right, if you wouldn't have to go to work anymore if you don't want to work, right? So if somebody wanted to edit a video, right, and everybody will know that you are famous because of your agent. So your agents that made your agent has been trained to make you famous. You trained your agent to the point where it made you famous, essentially. So somebody that is starting out, for instance, or a company, right, might want to spin up an ad, right? But they will want the ad to be like something that, for instance, let's use Kylie Jenner, something like Kylie Jenner edited. Do you understand? So instead of like reaching out to Kylie Jenner personally and be like, hey, hello Kylie Jenner, please, can you give us tips on how to like edit our video? We want our videos to look like the reels you post on Instagram, right? They're not going to do that. They're not going to reach out to the agents. That art, insert the person's name, right? Okay, cool. And because the agent has like all the skill sets, you've like trained there's this movie, How to Train Your Dragon, essentially. So agents are like dragons, essentially. You train them to become like you, right? So at some point, the agents will become like you. And this is not just for social media. This is also for writing. This is like any skill sets you have, including cooking. Let's say you made a recipe that is unique to you. In the future, right? An AI company won't just be able to steal that data and train on it. It's not possible because there will be no companies like that. All models, like I said in the beginning, they're going to be fragmented. They're going to be running locally on your device. Do you understand? And they're going to be all very ethical. And I believe this model race, I think Apple is going to win it, especially if they continue with this like this. They are siloed, small model releases. So essentially, they'll reach out to the model, reach out to the agents, and then the agents will. And then they'll borrow the agents. They'll be like, oh, can we lend? And you have like rates. You know how people have like rates that they work for now? And be like, oh, my rates are $7 per hour or $3 per hour, right? Your agents still have rates, right? And then so they'll rent the agents for that period of time. And the agents will, and many people, so you might have like in a day, you might have like 200 people renting your agents, right? Maybe somebody wants to edit their YouTube channel. They just started a YouTube channel. They wanted to grow the channel, and they want they're like their mentor. Maybe you're like Ali Abdul or something, and they want their videos to come out like Ali Abdul. Ali Abdul's like videos, right? They'll just rent his agents, right? And then the video will come out exactly like it was Ali Abdul that like edited it, or the reel will come out exactly like it was Kylie Jenner, because our agent has been trained on her data, she has personally trained the agents like her. Do you understand? And so when you want to sleep at night, your agents will just show you just get a notification. Your agent was like, 300 people rented me out. I went to work for 300 people today. Also, we made $16,000 today. And just be like, okay, $16,000, that's impressive. Bye-bye. And then that's the end, So agents are going to be like, they're essentially going to be like angels, right? Okay, cool. So essentially, most of the developers are going to be building, they're going to be building models, right? Like operating systems. They're building apps now. No, in the next 4-5 years, most developers are not going away. All these like, oh, AI is going to write all the code. Developers are going to go away. No, everybody is just getting promoted one step forward, right? So normal consumers are going to be they are going to be able to, because apps are going to be aware, right? They're going to be able to like tweak the app. So for instance, like the example I gave, a girl is going to open the calculator app on iOS and be like, I'm a girl. I like Hello Kitty. I like pink. You should just talk to Siri and say, Siri, my calculator app, change it. I want all the buttons to be Hello Kitty themes, and I want it to be pink. And Siri will be like, okay. And Siri will change it like that. And then she will be able to share that theme-ish with her friend, which is actually a whole calculator app that has been redesigned with everything. She'll be able to share that calculator app with her friend, and she and her friend, they'll be twinning essentially. She and her bestie, they'll be like twinning with like Hello Kitty calculator app. Now, before, the only people that could do that would be elite consumers, right? Now, the elite consumers, right, they will move from just being elite consumers they will move from just making videos about how to use Notion on YouTube, or how to like the hidden settings on Instagram to give you a boost on your post. They'll move away from all those type of contents, right, to actually making apps without any knowledge of programming, courtesy of vibe coding, right? Okay, cool. So they have been promoted. They'll be able to make any app, anything that comes to their head. And they've always wanted to do this, right? But they have not been able to do it because they don't have any knowledge of programming. Programming has stood between them. It has been the Red Sea that has stood between them, right? So they'll be able to do all those stuff, right? Okay, cool. You're able to create apps by vibe coding, right? So most of the apps that will be created by that at that time will be vibe coded, right? Okay, cool. So what are now the traditional programmers going to be doing? Will they all be fired? No, they will have moved up another ladder. So now they'll be the ones making models, just like 11 Labs. 11 Labs makes models, right? And they have like a proprietary app that runs on their models, right? Okay, cool. So programmers of the future will be making models like 11 Labs. They'll also be making operating systems, right? So Uber will have for instance, 11 Labs might make like an audio-based operating system, because right now they are kind of like trying to do that. They have this 11 Labs reader app. They have like an app that generates sound effects. They have all these voices. In the future, they will have like a full-fledged operating system that will be able to run on an iPhone. And so like if you're like a music-focused person or an audio-focused person, your iPhone will be tailored to that. It will still be an app-ish. It will still be called an app, but it will be like a full system-wide operating system, right? It will still be running on iOS, but iOS at that time would just be like a loose term for mini operating systems. So that's what developers will be doing: custom models, custom operating systems, and the world will need more developers than ever. And there'll be more. You think developers are rich now? This is like the most poor most developers would be. They'll be like super rich in the future, like super fucking rich. Okay, cool. Okay. And then, so what will now the model companies do? The Anthropics of this world, the Claudes, what are they going to be doing? Well, they're going to move up a notch, which is what, again, like I said, Sam Altman is usually the visionary in this kind of things. And you can already see him trying to do it with like buying Johnny Ive's Lovable. So most AI companies, at least the serious ones, right, they're going to be able to like build like, they're going to be going to hardware. They're going to start making robots, which is like, right now in the world, right, everybody has a phone. Right, but not everybody has like a robot. Not everybody has a robot in their house, but everybody has a phone. I think Bill Gates said that the Microsoft, it was a computer in every home and on every desk running Microsoft software. That was like, I think I read The Road Ahead when I was like younger. I think he said that in Road Ahead, right? Okay, cool. So for most robotic companies, right, it's going to be a robot in every home. The next Microsoft essentially is going to be a robot in every home. Running, I don't know, maybe ChatGPT, I don't know, running Apple software or something like that. So like the model companies, right, and the big boys like Apple, the people making operating systems now, it will be robotics, right? So it's not going to be, we're waiting for the next iPhone. It's going to be, of course, there's still going to be iPhones, but it's going to be, we're waiting for the next, I don't know, maybe it's going to be called iRobots, essentially. So everybody essentially is going to get promoted. That's what I'm going to say. Nobody's getting fired. Developers are not going away. All this doom and gloom is just like it's not going to happen. Those people said it's not going to happen. That the world is about to enter this very blissful state, like 100 years of like. The way I explain it to me is that there are 3 steps, right? The first step is hallucination, the second step is intelligence, and the third step is abundance, right? And if you look throughout history, right, it has always been like that. So let's start with Bible history, right? So Solomon hallucinated, for instance. It was lying down and he started hallucinating. So a dream is an hallucination, essentially, right? It's just like a series of hallucinations, right? So Solomon was hallucinating. And then in his hallucinations, God came to him. Or in his dream, God came to him. And God was like, Solomon, what do you want? And he was like, I want. And God was like, the rules are you cannot say that you have only one wish. And you cannot say that you want 3 extra, you want more wishes. That's the only thing you cannot say, but you can ask for any other thing. And I was like, okay. And God was like, okay, so what do you want? He was like, I want intelligence. And God was like, are you serious? He was like, yeah. And God was like, wow, I wasn't expecting you to say something like that. I thought you were going to say you want money or something like very human. But since you say you want intelligence, well, I'm going to give you intelligence. So God gave him intelligence, right? And then the next thing, so it was from hallucination, right? The first step was hallucination. The second step was intelligence. And then the third step was money. He just became very, very rich. And not only him, everybody that was, the kingdom he was ruling, right? They were picking money. The Bible says they were picking silver on the floor. Like, it was like money was everywhere. It was this period of extreme abundance. Now, yeah, okay, cool. If you read the story of Joseph again, the same process: hallucination, intelligence, abundance. So the Pharaoh had a dream. He was sleeping, he had a fucking dream. He had a dream. This thing is long. It's 1 hour. He was sleeping. He had a dream. And then in his dream, he was sleeping. He had a dream. And then in his dream, he said he had a dream. He didn't remember. And then he woke up and he was like, I had a dream. I can't remember. And then they had to send for Joseph. And then when Joseph came, Joseph was like, give me a second. So Joseph did the intelligence part. He went to do the intelligence, right? He got intelligence, intel on the king's dream. And he came to tell the dream that, hey, look, king, this is your dream. And then what followed? Well, abundance. Egypt had 7 years of abundance where everything was just like extremely nice, right? Right. The same thing with, we're right at 1 hour, right? The same thing with like Nebuchadnezzar. The same thing with Chinese history, there are millions of examples everywhere. There are 3 steps. First is hallucination, second is comes intelligence, and then third abundance. So what we have right now is hallucinations. We're still in the hallucination phase. The AI we have right now is not truly intelligence yet. It's still hallucinating, right? So we're in the hallucination phase, and then we'll get to the intelligent phase. This is the phase where, what they call physical AI, right? Where the AI is now being built into applications, applied properly. It's not just this chatbot thing, which is why I'm trying to move away. I'm building this app that I'm building because I'm tired of this chat interface. It's like it's an insult on AI. Let's put it like that. Like all these chats. It's like I hate it. Okay, it's an insult on the intelligence of those things. Okay, cool. But that's the story for another day. So we're going to get inside the intelligence phase, right? And then after in the intelligence phase, we are going to have abundance. It's not doom. The AI is not going to kill all of us, or we are all going to get fired, no. Everybody is going to with abundance. This is how it works in history. Like is hallucination, intelligence, abundance. Even like Elijah, right? Even the Antichrist, Satan, right? Even the Bible says Satan, which is like worse than anything in the world. The Bible says when the Antichrist, when he comes, the first 3 years you have what? Abundance. So anytime there's any form of intelligence, the thing that follows it is abundance. It's not doom. There's no doom anywhere. It's just a fucking abundance. Now, will the abundance not just fall on our laps? No, there's still a lot of work to be done. There's still a lot of like nuclear reactors to be done. There's still billions of dollars to be invested in AI, right? There's still a lot of work to be done. Now, will the work be done? Yes. How do I know the work will be done? Well, because capitalism is the one that forces people to evolve or die. If you don't evolve, you'll be forgotten, right? Right. But I know there are a lot of people that believe that this, okay, but it's okay. So, Jesus Christ, I've lost my train of thought. And I've been speaking for 1 hour and 2 minutes. You're not fucking know, right? I just wanted to say everything the Holy Spirit told me. Because he has been telling me all these things about 3 days now. I've just been storing it in my head. I've been eating 1 burger every day. Like I didn't have money again, right? So Uber has this cool thing where essentially I was able to buy, God provided for me, I was able to buy like 6 burgers from like Bayou St. Louis, right? I was able to buy like 6 burgers essentially. And so I've been eating, so I stored them, right, inside the fridge. And I've been eating 1 burger every day, like 1 burger every day. So today I opened my fridge and I discovered that I had spaghetti, had milk, I had cheese, and I had like split beans, like split green beans, like a pack of it. So I cooked the split beans, added the spaghetti, opened the can of milk, and then I put the milk inside, and then I dumped all the cheese inside. And then it turned out it was really nice. So all this energy that I'm using to talk is coming from there. I'm sorry. That's my point. Okay, yeah. So that's it. The end. So I'm going to title this thing the pyramid of programming.